Good morning, Israel. We're going to look at a follow-up thing that I posted a couple weeks ago on Exodus 12:22 when we talked about the children of Israel staying in their homes all night long, the night of Passover. Now, if you haven't read that passage before, you could be confused when you go to the book of Deuteronomy. And I want to bring this out because a lot of people read the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy and then aren't able to sync Passover correctly. So I'll just read from Deuteronomy 16, verse 1. It says, "Guard the month of Aviv and perform the Passover to Yahuwah your Elohim. For in the month of Aviv, Yahuwah your Elohim brought you out of Mitzrayim," which is Egypt, "by night." It says he brought them out of Egypt by night, or Mitzrayim. Now, when a lot of people read this verse, "Guard the month of Aviv, perform the Passover to Yahuwah, for in the month of Aviv, Yahuwah brought you out of Mitzrayim," now everything in this verse is connected, but they read it as if Passover to Yahuwah and he brought them out by night, and they connect those two thoughts together. So Passover is when he brought them out by night. They think it's the same night. Passover night is when he brought them out of Egypt. That's how they read this. They connect those two things together like that. But that's not what this verse is saying. But we'll get to that here in a second. I want to read one more verse here in chapter 16. It's verse 6. "But at the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell, there you slaughter the Passover in the evening at the going down of the sun, at the appointed time you came out of Mitzrayim." So this verse gives us a lot more information. It tells us that the Passover is to be slaughtered in the evening at the going down of the sun, at the time you came out of Mitzrayim. And we learned in verse 1 they came out by night. So the time they leave Egypt and the time they do the Passover are the same time, especially the same time of the day. But once we know that in Exodus 12:22 that no one left that night, you can understand that even though in this first verse, when it talks about perform the Passover in the month of Aviv, for in the month you came out of Egypt, it's not referring to the same night. It's not telling you that Passover and leaving are that same night, because you can't be doing two things at once. For those who hold to the 15th, this Passover, these two verses really destroy that theory, because you can't leave on the 15th, but we know they left by night. But the problem is, it's not referring to the 15th, the time they left Egypt. It's referring to the 21st. And if you go to the book of Exodus chapter 14 and read the night they left Egypt, on the 21st day of the first month, which is the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, they passed through that Red Sea all night long. That whole night is when they came out of Egypt. By an outstretched hand, Moses, in the morning, the waters returned and the enemy was destroyed. The whole theme of salvation coming in the morning. But that whole event took place in the evening. As the scripture says, it was done at the same time. Passover was done at the same time the children of Israel were leaving Egypt, which, if you understand the Gulf of Aqaba and then passing through, that's technically where Egypt, the boundary of Egypt is. When they passed through that, they had left Egypt. So hopefully this clarifies a little bit that Passover and the night and the time they left Egypt is at the same time, but they're just on different days. And those who hold to the 15th view, this is going to be a problem for them, because they believe everything just happened, was smashed into one day. But the scriptures are clear. No one left Passover night. Shalom.